Casey Leander.
Wow.
Welcome back to Cinema Snorkel.
How did you know my alter ego? I'm wearing no glasses, so...
No glasses and a hat. Just a lucky guess.
I really thought no one would recognize me in this getup, so...
It's not the mustache. I thought the mustache was supposed to throw people off.
I guess that's part of it, but really it boils down to glasses or no glasses.
I thought it was convincing on Clark Kent. You didn't think it was convincing?
I feel like I would love to play a high-stakes game of Guess Who with everyone in the Superman universe, you know? Just, you know that game where you flip the little tiles up and it's like, is your person a ginger? Does your person wear glasses? And I feel like I would dominate. I'd get them to like bet a huge amount of money on the outcome of that game and then just clean house.
You're playing against superheroes.
Well, I wouldn't be playing against, I'd be playing against everyone who knows.
You're playing against the citizens
of Metropolis. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Bunch of chumps.
I think you would win.
Bunch of chumps.
I think you would win in that game.
Now, they did say, oh, his glasses are hypnotic glasses. James Gunn.
They did say that.
Uh-huh. James Gunn in an interview talked about how he was talking to someone who was like an authority on Superman, and he's like, hey, you might not know this, but that's canon, actually, that his glasses are hypnotic to the point where they confuse everybody about who he is.
Perfect.
So there you go.
There you go.
I'm sorry we fought.
We do. But we're bound to, though. We're so different. I was just some punk rock kid from Bakerline, and you're Superman.
I'm punk rock.
You are not punk rock.
I like the Stranglefellows and the PODs and the Mighty Crabjoys.
Those are pop radio bands. They're not punk rock. The Mighty Crabjoys suck.
Okay, well, a lot of people love them.
My point is I question everything and everyone. You trust everyone and think everyone you've ever met is, like, beautiful.
Maybe that's the real punk rock.
Well, Casey, welcome back to Cinema Snorkel. I've missed this.
I know.
I've missed you. We haven't talked since the last episode, so we should really work on that.
No, we haven't even said one word to each other. It's a healthy sibling relationship, you know? We just show up,
only
do
talk
a
within the
podcast.
parameters of this podcast.
Well, that's the joke about podcast bros, right? Like, it's like, oh, I'm going to start a podcast. Translation, I want to talk to my friends.
I miss my family. I'll start a podcast with them.
It's how dudes in the year 2025 relate with each other. Okay.
That's great, though. You know, if we get a few more extra podcasts in the world than we need, but bros are having their bro time, I think that's a net positive.
Yeah. Who cares if it's like toxic sometimes? Because that's the other thing. It's all toxic. Anyway, we digress.
Yeah, we're not toxic here.
Welcome to the most wholesome movie podcast you'll ever encounter.
The gosh darn tootinest PG-rated podcast you ever heard of.
I don't know. You were pushing our PG rating with the tootinest. We don't talk about toots.
I'm sorry. A poof.
They're called poofs. I can't wait to send my kid to school armed with a wholesome vocabulary like poofs. And just watch him get dismantled.
A poof come out of their bun buns?
Yeah, the poofs that come out of your bun buns. All right, Knox, go succeed at school. See you later, buddy.
He'll do just fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine. Carlin, what movie are we going to talk about today?
I've been really excited about this, actually, because I loved this movie. It was my favorite movie of the summer. Superman 2025, James Gunn. No subtitle on that one. It's just straight up Superman, not the Superman.
We're going to forever need to call it Superman 2025 James Gunn. So because they didn't do a subtitle, that's what we are stuck calling it now.
But this is the most Superman-y movie of all the Superman movies, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, talk to me. Why do you have that impression of this movie?
Well, for one, when you have a superhero that wears his underwear outside of his tights and a red cape, like you're just not taking yourself too seriously. And if you try to, then you're going to end up with the Zack Snyder version, which has its place, but it's just not very Superman-y. It's not very patriotic. It's not very fun. it just feels like we're eating an ice pop from an ice cream truck. You know what I'm saying? Do you feel that way?
That's such a great description of the vibes of this movie. Yeah, that's so real.
But we also took the best part from the old Superman movie, which is the theme from John Williams. And they just yoinked it and put it right in this movie.
Oh my
So it's
gosh.
like they're giving us the Superman movie that we actually have been longing for, but we got distracted with the Zack Snyder dark, scary nonsense.
Yeah, we
We got a little bogged down, but we're past that now. We're in our new era.
It was about a decade and a half of nitty-gritty Superman movies. And Carlin, while we're here, could we just have, just real quick, a dunk sesh on Man of Steel?
Casey, you know I love nothing more than a dunk sesh.
Yeah, all right. Dunk number 1.
This is the bad kind of dunk, by the way, not the slam dunk kind
No,
of dunk.
well, like, you could take it two ways. One, we're dunking on Man of Steel. Like, their ankle's broken. We're already, like, smashing the basketball through the hoop right in their face. Or, like, you know, there's, like, the silly carnival dunk where they're, like, sitting on a platform and we're successfully throwing a baseball
Oh.
and it's like, get dunked, Man of Steel.
Let's do that one.
Okay,
Let's
all
do
right.
that one.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Dunk number 1. Okay. And I'm so sorry to my good friend David, who was like, dude, I just watched Man of Steel. It's actually really good. You should rewatch it. Dude, I'm so sorry about this. I really like...
He lied to your face.
No,
He lied
no,
to your face. He
I
didn't really like it.
I know. I didn't say I like it. I just said, I should rewatch it. Maybe it's better than I remember. And
And you did?
It's not better than I remember. There are elements of it that are great. Like everything with Russell Crowe, where they're setting up the fall of Krypton, blah, blah, blah. That's very cool.
Great.
I'll tell you right where it starts to go wrong for me. When he's like, are you saying, Dad, that I shouldn't have saved every kid on that bus? And the dad's like, maybe. Remember that?
No, Uncle Ben.
No,
What's his name? Pa.
Pa. I'm like, the moral
Yeah.
calculus there is insane. And it's so contrived. It's like, you need to stay hidden. To the point where that same dad, I mean, props to him, doubles down and lets himself be killed in a tornado rather than let Superman save him. Because, and here's dunk number 2, Pa Kent went back to save the family dog from a car, and that's why he died.
So you can't save everybody, and you better just accept it right now.
Or like, it's like, people will fear you. If they ever actually knew what you were, they would fear you.
Oh, you've got to protect not only your alter ego, you have to protect your true power.
You have to protect people from the very knowledge of Superman, because they would freak out.
Whoa, that's so loaded.
And his dad really, really believes that. The problem is, well, you have a fork in the road. Either the movie really believes that, which I don't think it does, but that would be a terrible movie, right?
Yeah.
Or just a different movie than we were trying to make with Superman. Or the movie doesn't believe that, in which case his dad was a fraud and sacrificed himself for nothing. You know what I mean? Either way, Carlin, either way, Man of Steel, altogether too gritty, altogether too sepia, altogether too much. Here's dunk number 3. Altogether too much just punching each other meaninglessly. Like,
Through buildings.
they destroy Metropolis just punching each other through some buildings. And after about 35 minutes of that, you start to get a little punch drunk yourself. You're just like, this is like rubber people punching other rubber people. The punches have no impact.
Right. And if they have no physical impact, then they have no emotional impact, hence no story impact.
Right. Yep.
You got to have impact for it to matter at all.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, there we go. Do you have any dunks on Man of Steel?
No. I think you said everything that I would have said. I haven't rewatched it recently. I do remember the interesting part of the movie being like the first 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
Where Clark is just a normal kid, and then he's kind of like encountering his superpowers for the first time. Fascinating. Interesting. And then the rest of the movie is just, getting punched around buildings and stuff.
Just punching each
And then
other.
I haven't seen any of the other ones, like the Batman ones. I just have the image of my head of like all the people in this weird Superman cult, like reaching out their hands to touch him.
Oh, yeah.
And that just gave me the heebie-jeebies. I'm sure it was meant to, but I didn't want to find out.
I think we can safely say, even in the court of public opinion, that it only went downhill from Man of Steel. So, Anyway, but we're done with that. That was like a bad fever dream of taking ourselves too seriously. And now we're at the old neighborhood popsicle truck Superman. And
Yeah.
it's summertime.
Blue raspberry Superman.
Yeah, that was the color palette, wasn't it? Blue raspberry.
Blue raspberry and cherry. Yeah,
Carlin,
what'd you like?
What'd you like? No, I was going to ask you. Checkmate. You first. What did you like about this movie?
Well, all right. I loved Lois Lane. I loved their romance. I didn't love Crypto Superdog. That was eternally frustrating because dogs. I
Well,
love dogs, but
That's like just personal preference, because you and I share a dislike of out of control dogs.
yeah. Unlike most of the world who loves out of control dogs.
Well, come on.
No
If
one loves an
everyone-
out of control dog.
If everyone didn't like out of control dogs, there wouldn't be very many out of control dogs. Now, would there be? But some
Well-
people are like, "Oh, he's just friendly," and the dog's like,
No. Bad
those
dog.
people like their out of control dog.
I think they just don't know what they're doing wrong, personally. But I think I loved how wholesome this one was. Yeah, those are some things that I loved. What did you love about it?
Yeah, I love that they had a lot of fun with all the jokes. I mean, the one henchman named Owen with the like oversized mustache.
I knew you would love him.
He turns to Lex Luthor.
I thought of you with that character. I was like, Casey's gonna like this guy.
What does he say when he turns to Lex Luthor? He's like, "You're going to explode everything," or something, and it just like zooms in on his face. I was like, "This is so funny. This is so funny." He's such a weird guy. I mean, there's just so many like comedy hits that they have, like when they take out that kind of axolotl monster, and then they zoom into
Oh,
the
yeah.
news coverage and it says metahumans kill thing. It's just like, can't be bothered to like go do more detail than that. It's just so that's just
Yeah.
how journalism is today.
All the people just like sitting in the coffee shop with alarmed expressions on their faces as they look out the window and the city's just getting destroyed. The joke that I loved this time was when Lois is gonna escape in Mr. Terrific's T-Jet or whatever it's called.
Right.
And they're like, how many seats does it have? And she's like, 4. I think it's 5. And then the news guy goes, hey, Jerry, you can come too. And then as soon as they get into the T shuttle or whatever, he's like, how come I don't have a seat? But they just slip it in there, and there's not a moment to applaud it. They're like so clever and so deft the way they weave those little moments together.
You know what it is? It's relatable. Like all of the jokes in this are like relatable, because they what they can't do with Superman is ground it in any sense of like realism.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
you try to do that and you end up having to have ridiculous stakes, like Clark Kent's dad saying like, "Don't save me from the tornado," you know. So you can't ground it in like physics realism.
Yeah.
You have to ground it in sort of relatable emotional realism. And I think
Yes.
that's why their comedy really works, because it's all this like quirky slice of life moments that we've all experienced.
Yes.
Even down to like, I mean, I don't think I've experienced this one, but like the journalist with the clingy girlfriend.
Oh my
you know?
gosh.
And to get
He's hilarious.
to like, he has to meet up with her, but he's like terrified that because she just like is so in love with him. Anyway, that's just funny. That's comedy gold.
He's so unimpressed. She's like so hot, and Lois is like, "This is the girl that can't keep away from you. She's so hot," and he's like, "Hot?" Like he doesn't even occur to him. That was
Yeah.
great. Hey, do you recognize that kid? Do you know what he's from?
Oh my gosh, what are you about to tell me?
You
I
get,
don't. I
You
didn't.
get one guess to guess
I-
what he's
I
from.
can't-
You've seen
I
him in
hate this.
something before. You have.
Gosh, do you know how many things I've seen?
Just throw it out there, and then I'll make fun of you when you are wrong.
Bridge to Terabithia.
No, that's Josh Hutcherson.
No, I know. I didn't think he was the lead. I know
What do
Josh
you-
Hutcherson.
What? You're crazy.
Just said the
No.
first thing that came to my mind.
Night at the Museum. He plays Ben Stiller's son.
What?
Google it. Yes, sir.
What? I'm Googling it
know.
right now. I'm Googling
Google
it
it.
right now. Ben Stiller's son, Night at the Museum, because I'm guessing you don't know the actor's name, do you? Got her.
Man, I've missed you.
I missed our chats. Why weren't we chatted?
Yeah. By the way, how are you?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, Carlin. You know what? You know what Google's telling me? That Jake Cherry was the son in the first two movies, and
What?
Skylar Gisondo, our journalist Gisondo, replaced him in the third film. So what you meant to say was Night at the Museum 3.
Dang it. Dang it. I really thought I had that one in the bag.
No, checkmate.
Okay.
This episode brought to you by the
I
phrase
thought they didn't look
checkmate.
similar. I thought
They don't look
kind of
and
different.
Google it. Hey, listeners, Google it. They don't look anything alike. Is Night at the Museum 3 the main Night at the Museum in your mind? Is that the first one you think of? Honest answers all the.
Wait.
But when
if
you
you
Google
Google
it-
Jake Cherry, pictures of Sky, what's his name, do come up.
Skylar Gisondo.
Skylar Gisondo. But don't tell me
yeah.
I'm crazy for having thought that.
You're well, you're not sane for having thought that. Anyway,
Dang it. Oh, man. You
Aw,
guys,
man.
This is why you should do your research before you try to have a podcast.
no, this podcast is just about siblings trying to keep up in life in a fast-paced adult world, okay? Like we don't have
Yeah.
to that's what our podcast, that's the real theme of our podcast. I really loved when Lois and Clark are having a like serious like how you doing conversation, and
Yeah.
the alien is in there's just a random alien with no context getting beaten up by the Justice Gang in the background.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
That's the kind of movie this is.
She's like, "Are you helping out with that?" And he's like, "No, they've got it handled. I was looking for the dog." So, Casey, you want to take a crack at our Cinema Snorkel question, which is, what were the makers of this film trying to say? What's our best guess?
You know what I loved, Carlin? What really drew me into this film initially was the emotional fight that they have where she's trying to interview him and
Yes.
he's trying to be Superman for her to interview. And he goes in thinking, this will be cute. And she goes in thinking, I'm a serious journalist. Sure, I'm dating Superman, but I'm going to get a scoop out of this.
Yes.
And that dialogue tells us so much about the human stakes of this film. And again,
Yes.
it's ridiculous because this film's okay admitting that it's a ridiculous film.
Yeah.
But it grounds us in the human stakes. I just thought that was expertly written and really gets to a lot of the crux of what I think the filmmakers want us to care about in this film.
Yes. So relatable.
Right.
And yes, and it sets up all the main conflicts. Or at least the key character conflicts for each of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what you noticed about that fight, but I'd be curious to ask what does Clark want in that scene and what does
Yeah.
Lois want in that scene? What happens and then where do they leave us
Cool.
after that scene? We
Let's-
could just break that one down.
Yeah, let's just break down the scene. Okay, so your first question. What does Lois want?
Yeah, what does Lois want?
Well, okay, so the scene, they've been together for a while. We learn later that they're not calling each other boyfriend, girlfriend, but they are going out. And that really came through in the scene. We're looking at two people who are friends, that know each other, they've been dating. It's going pretty well, but there's something they're both holding back. Like, we're not fully committed to this thing yet. Like, there's some unanswered questions, especially coming from Lois. She's
Right.
very eager to jump on the interview. She's pushing back on him because she's
Yeah.
questioning his choices. Like, he just interfered in this international conflict, a very relatable international conflict. A little on the
Right.
nose for current events these days, but
Right.
still, they're not beating you over the head with anything necessarily.
Tale as old as time, right? Just nations having bogus pretext for invading their neighbor.
Right.
That's happened a zillion times.
So, like you said, she's trying to take her journalism seriously, and she's very good, and she's very adept. She feels like he's not maybe considering all the consequences of his actions. Like, there are political consequences as well as human casualty consequences. What do you think?
Right. Yeah. He's a little blasé about being Superman. And I think the heart of Lois is that she's a cynic.
Yeah.
Like all real journalists gotta be. You don't take it at face value. And one of the things that we as the audience are probably coming in with when we talk about Superman is like, oh, he's just like the perfect guy. Like he's just perfect, man. You know? And she's almost channeling a little bit of how I think a lot of us would maybe react these days if Superman were real. Like, okay, where's the catch? Like, you really didn't think about that. You really are doing it for the greater good. Are you kidding me? Like, you're not thinking about this. Whereas he is just, he's like an optimist. He's like the popular, good-looking, athletic guy with a heart of gold. He's just pure golden retriever. You know? And he's like, what's the big deal? I stopped a war, you know, like, and in his mind, it really is that straightforward. So like, he believes the best about everybody, and he believes the best about him and his mission with his parents, right? Because they gave him this mandate to like make Earth better and protect people and stand for justice. So he just full trust in that. And that's what's really driving him behind the scenes. And he's like, why does this have to be so complicated? And he really loves Lois Lane. He really loves the version of her that he sees, but maybe there's so much more depth to her personality, but he's just like, oh, of course I love Lois Lane. You know, like he's ready. He's like, I love you. Like he says that early.
Yes.
He's in her apartment. Even the opening scene where he's in her apartment cooking breakfast and she grabs a baseball bat because it didn't even cross her mind that they're at that stage yet. But he's just like, this would be cute. And she's like, you love breakfast for dinner. I don't like breakfast for dinner. You know, even that, so relatable, slightly cringe as two people try to figure out a relationship. I actually felt like they're mismatched, but he doesn't see it and she does. And almost the journalism is her way of maybe driving a little wedge of reality into the relationship.
Dang.
I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, he's so true blue. Pun totally intended. He just sees the world in black and white, and mostly it's white. Like it's just not that complicated for him. And you could say that Lois sees more shades of gray and kind of wants him to be able to acknowledge some of that. And so she really puts it right to him. Like there's a sense in which their role playing as journalist and Superman allows her to take her kid gloves off and just get straight to the heart of it. And it doesn't go well.
Right.
Because she touches a nerve and then he leaves and he's like, I'm not upset. Everything's fine. But clearly he's upset. Something's not right.
So relatable.
And,
it's so relatable.
And then she says, I knew this would never work. And what she's referring to is, I'm not good at relationships. So she's also like, it's not as if she's cutting right through all the confusion and getting straight to the heart of it. There's something on her end too that's still a little muddled. And I think
she's play acting.
We get to see a little bit of that when she opens up to Mr. Terrific. She's like, I was going to break up with him, and then he told me he loved me, and now I don't know what to do. And she needs to verbal process it, but clearly Mr. Terrific's like, doesn't really care.
Yeah, again, that was so funny. All of their interactions were awesome.
They were terrific. What is Clark missing that causes Lois to stop and like hold back? Is it a problem with him?
Well, in communication theory, I've heard.
In communication theory, I've heard. According to the communication theorists, of whom I am a follower.
I've missed you. Oh, this is great. This is great.
Yeah, we should really catch up sometime.
Well, like when you're studying dialogue, maybe I'll just say this. Like people don't usually just come out and say what is their truest, deepest heart's desire. Mm-hmm. People will 9 times out of 10 find an oblique way to get out what they want. So like even when you're writing dialogue, you need to know what people want, what your characters want. But then you also have to think about what's stopping them from just coming right out and saying it. And that's true for most of our lives. Like most fights between married couples, it's miscommunication because one or both sides aren't willing to own what it is that they actually think. And that's why that scene worked so well. I think Clark Kent / Superman really just wants to be loved. Like he is other. He's the Kryptonian. He's an outsider, and he just wants that golden retriever energy to be seen and appreciated for what it is and just be loved. And he thinks Lois is that, and it's a little bit wishful thinking because she really is like this cynical journalist, you know? And she, I think, has probably been burned and hurt before. We're not told, but just the dialogue is so good because even like when you're cynical like that, you'll come back to like, see, I knew it. I knew this wasn't going to work. It's just too much effort to try. And that's probably why she's breaking up, because it feels like she doesn't want to get burned again. So she's willing to like try putting the heat on him and see what happens, just to really test and see if he's actually trustworthy, to the point of really hurting him by bringing up what his critics say and all the ways that he could be wrong.
It's like she's trying to scare him away.
Yeah, I think so. Or just, I don't know. It's just, that's what cynicism does in us. You know, you're just like, well, I'm going to attack and just see. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to attack because it doesn't feel safe for me to trust you. And it probably doesn't feel safe for her to trust him because he doesn't actually know who Lois Lane is. He has this Pollyanna version of who he thinks she is. He doesn't know that she doesn't like breakfast for dinner, you know?
Right. Like, she's probably thinking he's so good in every sense of the word. If he really knew me, maybe he wouldn't like me.
Yeah, maybe. And I love the recurring theme where they keep talking about, like, he thinks he's punk rock, you know? She's like, you are not punk rock. And even the last song that they play, it's like, I'm a punk rocker, yes I am. You know? It's like, does that count as punk rock? You know, like, anyway, that's just, I think even that dialogue kind of draws us into their character, so.
She says, this is not that first conversation, but this is when she finds him all low because Lex exposed his parents' message, and everything who he thought he was just got blown up. We're so different. I question everyone and everything. You think that everyone you've ever met is like beautiful.
Yeah.
And then he says, maybe that's the real punk rock.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, he's right, because punk rock is, at its core, as a punk rock person myself, I think I could speak to this.
Quite the punk rock person you are. Yes. No, go on.
No, I really am, though. Being punk rock, I think at its core is not caring what people think about you. Which is usually ironic because a lot of, like, what is quote-unquote punk rock is so affected that it's like, oh, actually, clearly you really care what people think of you.
Right.
And maybe, but then, okay, so not caring what people think of you, and Superman's trigger is the hashtag, and dare I say it on our Christian podcast, that really gets him. And he's like, I hate that one the most, because that presses his deep insecurity about who he is.
Yeah.
Do you really think you're all that? Like, do you really think you're here to, like, be better than us and stomp on us and dominate us? Like, that's his worst nightmare, which is why the end scene when he talks to Lex, he shows up and he talks about his weakness as being human, his insecurity.
Yeah.
He's like, I wake up every day and I just try to do what's right, and I'm terrified, but that's what makes me human, and that's my greatest strength.
Right.
And that's his moment kind of believing he actually is human. Like, the insecurity is actually kind of part of his best parts of himself.
That's so well put. Yeah, it's the insecurity that makes him a relatable character in a world where he maybe shouldn't be that relatable, you know?
Yes.
But this movie makes him utterly relatable.
Yes.
Despite being, like, invincible.
Yeah.
And I think right after they have that initial fight, what happens to each of their characters, I mean, really we're focused on Superman the most, although Lois, I think her journey is like realizing, no, I really care about this guy. And like, does anyone actually care? Like, she goes to the Justice Gang and they're just a bunch of dimwits and like, they just don't actually care about him. So they're cynical. And she sees their cynicism and she's like, well, forget that. Like, this is a guy who actually cares. He even cares about you guys. Yeah. And you're just going to like let him be captured? Like, no, I'm going to go get him. And at that point, I think she's really doing that as a friend, like not as like, this is the love of my life. I think she has huge misgivings about them being together, but she's like, this is a genuinely good guy. I need to go do something because no one's going to do anything about this.
Yeah.
So that might be the arc that Lois goes on that starts to melt her icy heart a little bit.
Yeah, the Justice Gang is totally the foil of Superman and totally the crystallization of Lois's cynicism in that they know perfectly well what's going on. They know Lex Luthor is corrupt, and they know the government of Genovia or whatever, Jehonova,
Zirkovia, Baravia.
They know Baravia is corrupt, and they're just like, we took a vow to not interfere because basically we signed a contract that we're not going to interfere, which is what Lois has kind of been, like, that's been her line kind of up before this point. Like, Superman you should have some guidelines. You should, be beholden to international laws and contracts, and you can't just go around and do stuff because you feel like it's the right thing to do.
Right. Ooh, yeah, there's so much to dive in with that contrast. But yeah, they're owned by a corporation, like literally.
Literally sponsored
they're
by.
Sponsored. It's crazy. So anyway, that's her journey. And meanwhile, Clark Kent, Superman, is just getting destroyed, like raked over the coals. And when they play that horrible genocidal second half of his parents' message, it's like that is his ultimate nightmare come true in front of everybody. Earth doesn't love him. They start to hate him and be like, what do you have a harem? And he's like, that's crazy. I don't. But like, he sees how compelling it would be to everybody, and he's just devastated.
Yeah.
His soft golden retriever heart just like took a mortal wound.
Yeah.
By the way, one question I have is, do you think the filmmakers have an opinion about whether his parents' message is real or fake, or are we meant to just not know? Because it seems impossible that it's real, but they keep telling us, all the experts say it's true. This is what they said. Even Mr. Terrific reiterates that. Do you think it's meant to be, that's really what his parents think?
Totally. I think that's exactly what his parents meant. And I think they try to sidesweep that because they're anticipating fan theories of like, well, that's a deep fake. But I think they really want to see what would happen to Clark Kent if the message that soothed him his whole life and given him this sense of purpose and identity, they want to strip him of that and see, okay, Superman, who are you without this? So yeah, I think all that dialogue about any chance that this isn't real is meant to convince us as the audience that nope, this is definitely what his parents meant to say.
Dang, yeah.
Because then, like, let's think about the scene with Papa Clark,
right?
Which of all the scenes in the movie, I feel like this one could have been a little better, but
no.
But what he says is,
it was a great scene. Keep going.
They laid on the I'm a slow country.
Okay.
It was a little heavy.
I disagree, but go on. Finish your thought.
Okay, but what he says, what you wanted to believe that message meant, says a whole lot more about you than what they meant it to mean. That's the first line, but that's not quite the crux of it yet.
Right.
Then he says, parents aren't supposed to tell kids who they're supposed to be. We're here to give them the tools to make fools of themselves all on their own. Your choices, your actions, that's what makes you who you are, and I couldn't be more proud of you.
Interesting.
What do you think about that?
I think there's a couple lines in there that feel like fluff, and one element of that conversation that feels like bedrock that they're going for. So your choices make you who you are. I mean, that's a trope. And in other movies, they really hammer it home. Like Batman in The Dark Knight. It's like, it's what we do that defines us.
More than reputation, per se. Because Dark Knight never gets the glory or the thanks or the gratitude.
Right.
In the public eye, he's scum. But what he does, that's what truly defines him.
Right. The Dark Knight really is wrestling hard with, like, White Knight, Dark Knight, who's the hero, who's the villain, appearances versus, like, being the one who's going to do the right thing in the shadows, right? This movie touches on that because they all do, but it doesn't really care that much about Superman. It's your choices that define you. Like, Superman's gonna do the right thing. He's only done the right thing the whole time. His real question is, who am I? What's my identity? And so that's why, like, I guess I agree with you somewhat that Papa Clark's, like, dialogue there doesn't, it's meant to land for what the words he's saying. I think it just lands more because of who he is to Clark Kent.
Yeah.
And that's some, like, some folksy country wisdom, but really the impact of that scene comes from the fact that Clark Kent loves these like simple, kind of dopey parents that he's got. And the point is actually they're not that profound per se. Like Mama Kent is just like, oh, I ironed your boots, you know, and they're like yelling into the speakerphone like, Clark, well, we love you.
He's just a big old
He's
mush.
a big old mush. Again, so relatable. So relatable. They're not cool. Like, I think they went out of their way to cast and write those characters so that there's no part of us that's tempted to be like, well, but they're kind of cool. You know, like you don't have the cool Aunt May that we get in the MCU. You know, she is awesome.
Right.
These folks are just like so kind of dopey, but it's so tender because we're like, Clark,
Yeah.
they love their son and he really loves them. And so the lines of that dialogue, I mean, we could try to like dig out the meaning from them, but I really think at the end of the day, what they're showing us is more important. And what they're showing us is that Clark does have an identity and this is it. He's the kid who grew up in this, wooden room with the old 80s kind of wooden beaded board on the side and his, the Mud Crabs poster.
Yeah, that he just loves what he loves and he's not embarrassed about it.
That's the Clark Kent that we love. And that's who he is. And I do think the movie grounds his identity ultimately because it starts off with him watching his Kryptonian parents give him this mandate to serve and protect. And it ends where the surviving robots are like, let's put on the thing where his parents talk to him. That always soothes him. And then they play Ma and Pa Kent. And it's so beautiful.
Tell me you didn't cry. That was so beautiful.
I don't cry.
Sweat from my eyes.
But yeah, no, it's so tender because he's loved and that's who he is and that's his identity and that's the boy they raised and that's the most human thing of all time.
Yes. Okay, so being human, which by definition is having weaknesses, is what defines him. And that's what he latches onto. Not, I'm this Superman, like Ubermensch, come to dominate Earth and take as many wives as I can.
Right.
Like, he could have that. He could totally choose that identity. But that's so not who he is.
And you know what else, Carlin? So the two themes that I picked up on would be like cynicism versus believing the best about people. And then what we're talking about, which is what does it mean to be human? And I think Lex Luthor is wrestling with that question as well. So can we talk about Lex Luthor for a second?
Yeah, please. But let's also remember to come back to Lois and wrap that one up. Because I want to know why she falls for Superman. But yeah, Lex Luthor. I know we haven't even mentioned it.
One of the best lines from Lex Luthor is when he says, Superman. Why do they call him that? He's not a man at all.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So Lex is getting us to question, he wants everyone to question Superman's humanity. And that's his...
They keep calling him the alien.
Right, the Kryptonian or whatever. And so, that's Lex's plot, is to get everyone to distrust Superman and hate him like he hates him.
Yeah, he's like, I know I'm defined by my envy.
Right. What did you think about that whole... That's what I was going to point at, like that kind of end monologue where he's like talking about Michelangelo and stuff. And he's like, they dared for greatness and I dare to achieve, you know... What did you think about those whole lines?
Let's just read it real quick. I'm aware that envy consumes my every waking moment. I know that when they mention Galileo or Einstein or one of these other twits in the same breath as me, I feel a tide of vomit burning in the back of my throat. But at least Galileo did something. He wasn't some dopey Venetian catapulted into the planet just to have the world fawn over him, because his strength illuminates how weak we all really are. So my envy is a calling. It is the sole hope for humanity, because it is what has driven me to annihilate you. That's what he says.
Wow. Wordy.
Yeah, well... brain over brawn.
Brains. Yeah, that could be a theme. Anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's not really brain over brawn. Okay, so brain beats brawn, but heart beats brain.
Well said.
It's the rock, paper, scissors of the Superman universe.
Dang. Yeah. No, I think that's totally right. Like, Lex Luthor's so smart that he's an idiot at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And
He's obsessed with Superman's physical strength and that everyone loves him. But I don't think what he realizes that people love, and what we've always loved about Superman in this movie and every other Superman movie, is not his strength. It's his weakness.
Yeah.
We care of his vulnerability, his emotional vulnerability.
Yeah. 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 I think that's really true. And Lex can't admit his own weakness. He's got to imprison the blogger, the ex-girlfriend blogger who dared to criticize him. He's got to have this team of like nauseating tech bro types around him on their screens, like, yeah, like cheering his every move. Like that.
He's like, camera 5 down, camera 5 down. Dude, I just said that.
I love this film. But yeah, Lex he's all about the appearance.
Yeah. He can't. He hates his weakness. He hates his weakness
Yeah.
and he hates the weakness of humanity. And so that's why he's like, envy's a good thing because it's exposing the weakness so he can kill it. Whereas Superman does the opposite. He embraces his weakness because that's what makes him human.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, okay, anyway, that's Lex Luthor. Enough said. I think he's a great Lex Luthor, by the way. I loved this Lex Luthor. He's goofy enough and he's threatening enough. It was good. I didn't know how they were going to do it, but even like the fact that he creates a whole universe. That was an interesting problem for Superman to have to tackle, cuz you got to have some interesting stuff for Superman to deal with. It's not enough to have normal stakes. So it's got to be a little out of the box, wacky. How are you going to deal with that?
Pocket universe.
Little pocket universe, an out of pocket universe.
And saving a baby from like attacking robots. You know, like Superman's biggest weakness other than kryptonite is the fact that he cares. So all Lex has to do is threaten someone he cares about.
Right.
And there you go.
Right.
It is a vulnerability.
So Superman gets beaten down, his reputation's thrashed. How does he come out of it? Where does the film leave us with his sort of character arc?
Well, he's really down bad and he goes home and he sees Ma and Pa, and then she says, Clark, you better come see what's on the box. And he goes back and sees that Baravia is invading Jahanpur and people are going to die. And he's like, I got to go there. And then Mr. Terrific is like, no, you got to come fix the rift. So I think realizing that he's needed, he actually, like, reputation or no, he still cares about saving people's lives. And he's got to get back out there and do the right thing, even if he's not really going to get the glory for it, maybe.
Yeah. He gets out of prison because that guy, Rex, the elemental guy, it's not his son being held captive. It's that they just execute that random man.
Yeah.
And he has a moment of conscience. Like, he's like, what am I doing? I'm on the wrong team. Like, if I get you out of here, can you really save my son? So I wonder if it's like, it's even that guy, like, choosing to believe in him a little bit, that kind of restores Superman's faith a little bit, helps him get off the ground. And then he does. He saves the day. He saves that guy and his baby. Mm-hmm. He realizes Lois came back for him. Mm-hmm. And she really cares for him. Mm-hmm. So they have a moment of catharsis there where, like, he's trying to get over the kryptonite poisoning or whatever. And she kind of helps him back on his feet. Like, she brings him to his parents' house. Right. So, like, he has reason to get back out there, even though he's experienced the depths of pain. Mm-hmm. And I think for Lois, she goes on that journey like we talked about, where she realizes everyone else is too cynical to save him, but then she steps out and does something about it. And it works. She saves him. And so I think that probably rekindles their spark enough to, like, that's their character.
Yeah, right. So Lois, her resolution, because by the end, she's in. Is there a moment where she reckons with, like, I was gonna break up with him and then he said, I love you?
I don't know, Carlin. I don't know how we're meant to feel about them. Like, I know that she says, I love you. Are we meant to think, okay, that's it for them forever? Like, they're deeply in love? Or are we meant to think, okay, this is quirky. They're going to have to figure it out. Right. They have some underlying problems like everyone does.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's where the film lands. It's actually not some fairy tale moment. It's just a sweet moment of two people, like, who are going to make it work because they love each other despite differences. She's still cynical. He's still more optimistic.
Right.
But they've come together at the end because they've each seen a little bit of the other side of that, like a world where everyone's cynical. Lois can't accept that. She doesn't want that. And a world where Superman doesn't know his own limitations is a world where he's not in touch with his humanity. And so the catharsis there probably lets them get back together.
Yeah, that's why it feels satisfying, even though they haven't really, like, hammered it out.
They do nothing to address those relational issues. Right. Yeah. I think if they made another movie we would probably see more relational dynamics between Superman.
Yeah. It also turns out he's right about the political question about whether or not he actually saved people.
That's a good point, because immediately the technologically advanced country, Baravia, invades its weaker neighbor immediately. And sometimes I even thought, as I watched that, I'm like, oh, sometimes it really is that simple. Like as a journalist, you got to be skeptical about everything. Like, no, it's never that straightforward. But actually, oops, yep, they're just invading. They really are just going to bulldoze this whole place and take their land. It's just that simple. So he was dead right about that. So maybe, I think that's a good point. Like his instincts about that were more than a match for her journalistic skepticism.
Right. And she encounters the what are they called? The Green Lantern contractors, the Justice Gang or whatever their dumb name is.
Yeah.
And she realizes how frustrating it is when you know the right thing to do, but you can't activate the right people to get it done.
Right.
And then she realizes, oh my gosh, thank God we have someone like Superman who's going to rush in and solve the problem before it's too late and is not going to get tied up in this stupid bureaucracy, because he actually cares. And she cares. She cares too.
Right. Probably gets her off the journalism bench and into the saving the world game.
There's a way in which journalism can be like one of the most noble jobs. And there's also a way where it can be a little schmarmy. Like you're on the front lines taking pictures, but you're not actually helping.
You're not wrong. So, Carlin, let's bring it home. What do you think our Christian worldview has to say about some of these themes about weakness, being human, cynicism versus believing the best about people?
I mean, humility, some people have said, humility is Jesus's central character trait. It's his defining character trait, in the sense that, like I'm thinking of in Philippians chapter 2, it says, even though he was God, he didn't cling to his rights as God, but humbled himself and took on the position of a servant, even to death. I'm paraphrasing. But that Jesus, even though he is all powerful, he's the king of creation, he is the creator, actually, of the world and God himself. And he condescended all the way down to be born as a little baby in a manger and have no honors, and was not beautiful that we should honor him, like it says in Isaiah. And then even further, he served people. He says the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve. And like the image of him washing his disciples' feet, which had cultural significance. That's a job only the lowest servants would do. And he's there just in the dust and the muck. And then even more than that, he gets betrayed by his friends and then dies in the most humiliating. Like a cross was like the worst of the worst garbage way to be executed. And he chose it for himself. Like the life of Jesus is starting in heaven and then condescending lower and lower and lower and lower and lower, to as low as anyone could possibly go in order to gain victory over death.
Yeah.
Like, if that's not strength and weakness, I don't know what is.
Yeah. No, that's so good. I mean, the Superman Jesus comparisons are going to fly because for a lot of reasons.
Easy.
I mean, one reason, this is fascinating, and I knew this better at one point. I need to dive back into it. But Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, the creators of Superman, were two Jewish guys.
Oh.
Yeah. And their idea was, if Messiah were to actually arrive, what would he be like?
Whoa.
I've heard that's part of the inspiration for Superman, and that they were very influenced by that.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, and the off-world parents, you got strength, the human and divine ancestry. It's just okay, all right, okay, this map's on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One for one. But I do think it's worth saying exactly what we're talking about. The most compelling aspect of Superman is a few things. One, he always does the right thing.
Yeah.
But when you see his relatable side, he's someone that we can trust in a world of cynicism. And I do think that when we read scripture, when we read the story that God outlined for us, that was part of the reason why God sent Jesus in human form. like in the book of Hebrews, it says we don't have a Savior who can't empathize with our weakness. He's been tempted in every single way that we are.
Yeah.
He had a mother, he had friends, he experienced betrayal, he experienced joy. Like, in God's ultimate scheme, relating to us on a human level was something that he values highly. And so I think when we pick up on that in a movie like Superman, with all its humor and stuff, I think that we're really reflecting probably the truest story in all of reality. You know what I mean? Like through that. I actually think that's why this film works, is that we don't want our heroes to be otherworldly. Right. Like we want to relate with them in some ways, or feel like they're personable.
Totally. Do you remember the movie Split with James McAvoy and Mike Shyamalan?
Yeah.
Really weird movie.
Yeah.
Really weird. And I didn't like it. But but that last scene, the scary monster guy, the monster inside the multiple personalities guy, he's going to kill, all three of the girls. And then the one girl, he sees that she has self-harm scars on her arm. And then he goes, "You've suffered too." And then he lets her go. It's a little cringy. But it is true that when you see someone who has suffered, they're able to understand you in a way that other people can't. And that's what I think of when I read that passage in Hebrews, that Jesus has been subjected to every kind of suffering, and he can relate to you in your weakness.
Right. I think Clark Kent / Superman has genuine humility. He doesn't think of himself as being all that. He's got a purpose. He's got a mission. He believes in right and wrong. And I think he thinks he can see it pretty clearly. But when he can't, he's fine admitting, like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with this revelation of my parents. I don't know if it's true. That's just humility. And humility is an incredible virtue. It's the opposite of Lex Luthor, because he's insecure and he uses power to cover his insecurity, and it makes him into a villain. Whereas Superman's insecure and he owns it, and it's what makes him a hero. And so in Christianity, you get a God who actually has, as crazy as it is to say, both like immense glory and real humility, not thinking of yourself higher than you ought. So when Jesus takes on the form of a servant, he really is. He's becoming one of us to save us, and he was willing to embrace everything that meant. And you'd never catch Jesus like peacocking,
Right. Even though he had every right to.
Right.
If anyone on earth did, he literally deserves all praise and all glory.
Yeah.
Rightfully his, but he forgoes it.
Right. It's just cool. It's cool to see like a version of that reflected in film.
I think it's both humility and also, like what we were saying earlier, relatability. Because it's one thing to not try to glorify yourself and praise yourself. It's another thing to have suffered. And then when you look at someone else who has suffered, there's like a level of trust or communion or empathy. It's more than just empathy. That you can really understand someone's suffering because you've tasted it yourself. And that's what Jesus does for us. He's willing to undergo the kinds of suffering that that is our birthright as sinners.
Yeah. Well said. I do think this movie is just like straightforward, I think my main takeaway is like it's refreshing to see it. There's a quote from Simone Weil, who is a philosopher, and she said, "Imaginary evil is romantic and varied. Real evil is gloomy, monotonous, barren, and boring. Imaginary good is boring. Real good is always new, marvelous, and intoxicating."
Whoa. I feel like I have to chew on that for a while.
Yeah. Imaginary evil is romantic and varied. Real evil is gloomy, monotonous, barren, and boring. Imaginary good is boring. Real good is always new, marvelous, and intoxicating. I think that matters to me, just like talking about my own opinion on Superman, because I would tend to find a Superman story more boring than I would find other superhero stories. But I think that's probably because sometimes, well, like when Superman first came out, it was just the novelty of like, what if there was a man who could fly faster than a speeding bullet? Oh, whoa! You know, and like that was enough to carry everyone's imagination. Like, whoa, that would be crazy. You know, we've seen so much of this stuff now that we're like, yeah, and
Yeah, give him some pathology, please. Otherwise, I'm not interested.
he's got to be neurotic in some way. His dad has to let himself die in a tornado. Like, I actually think Man of Steel overcompensates, like trying to make it like drag Superman down into the, you know. But this one has enough like just goodness to it to where it's fun, it's lighthearted, it has real stakes, but it's relatable in that way. And I just think that's why this movie's so refreshing. Is actually we're seeing a portrait of like what fighting for goodness actually is, and it doesn't mean being all puffed up or weird. It's like it's just quirky. Sometimes life is quirky, and sometimes people are lovable when they're weird, you know, and that's real goodness. One scene that was a side scene, but that kind of brought that home for me was when Jimmy the journalist decides like, okay, you know what? I will be with this girl, Eva, the Lex Luthor's girlfriend, you know, and he like smiles.
For a whole weekend.
Yeah, she's like, we'll be together, you know, and then it zooms in on his face and he's like, oh, okay, and he just smiles because he's choosing to, I guess in
Yeah.
that moment, I don't know, we don't know what's gonna happen, but in that moment he's like, I'm gonna just love this girl because she's like, I'm gonna see the best in her even.
What's endearing about her is also her insecurity. Like, it's the thing that's insufferable to him. But also,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, sweet thing. Like, somebody needs to protect you from dating these horrible, like, mass murdering psychopaths.
Right. And she's not an idiot. She actually is super smart. Like all the selfies have his evil plans in the background.
Yeah.
You know, and she's been planning on burning him this whole time. So
I love it. Don't judge a book
Yeah.
by its cover.
exactly.
Casey, this movie is so refreshing. It makes me want to go outside and get a little treat for myself.
Yeah.
A little
What, are-
a little blue
Are
treat.
you gonna get a dark and gritty, bitter coffee flavored fudgesicle?
Yes. The coffee ground supreme.
Yeah. Is that what you're gonna have?
Sugar free, sweetness free,
Sugar free,
on a
lactose
sharp
free.
stick.
It's gotta poke your tongue a little bit for you to enjoy it.
It's on sandpaper, so it rubs against your teeth the wrong way.
Oh, just taste the grit.
There's no sweetness.
Embrace
It's
the
made of-
grittiness.
It's just straight of coffee ground, little sharp barbed wire pieces in it.
That's a best-selling popsicle.
No, thank you. I want the one with the candy eyes.
You could call it a Snyder pop.
Pop of steel.
Pop of steel. So good, Carl.
Yeah.
Hey, this has been a wonderful, superb, you could call it a super episode of Cinema Snorkel.
Whoa, you've been saving that one, haven't you?
You know what I don't understand is why he named his dog. Well, I guess it's not his dog, but his cousin.
Not his dog.
His drunken cousin.
It was such a relief. Such a relief to know that it's not his dog, you know? Because it's hard to discipline someone else's dog. But if it's not yours, like...
You're off the hook. His drunken cousin, why would she name her dog Crypto? Because it's his weakness, you know? I know it's their planet or whatever, but... Well, Carlin, you enjoy that popsicle, and we will see you guys next time on another incredible episode of Cinema Snorkel.
Yeah, Case, don't be a stranger.
Hey,
Okay?
looking forward to when we chat next in a month.
Next month.
All right,
Goodbye.
bye-bye.